All right, this is session 1.2 of tutorial 1. In tutorial, or the first session that we did, we sort of got everything started. Now we want to go back to that about page that we created in the first session, and we want to add some additional elements to that. So go ahead and pull up the CT_about file that we created. Open it up in Notepad++. All right, so if you're in your folder, we'll right click and edit with Notepad++, and it should open it right away. All right, and you should see the work that we did during the first session in there. And so all we're doing right now is we're basically just adding to it. All right, so some of the things that we're going to be doing today during this one is in the body tags here. So let's go ahead and place your cursor right after the opening body tag, and then we're going to hit enter one time and tab in. And we're going to create just a little structure here that will input some text into here in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and start out with creating a header tag. So we'll do header, opening header tag there. We will hit your enter key after that. And I want you to go ahead and do tab one more time to take that in just a step. And this is going to be a tag for a heading. So put H1, an opening H1 tag. And we're going to put a title in here, curbside tie, in for that. And then we will close that H1 tag. Just like that. All right, and hit your enter key. And I am going to backspace over one step just to bring it back in line with my other header, my opening header tag. We're going to close that header tag, just like so. All right, and then hit enter one more time. We're going to do an opening article tag. And this is going to be basically the meat, if you will, of our website or our web page for the About Us page that will go in this article tag. All right. So hit enter after that. We'll tab in one step and go ahead and we're going to put About Us in the heading 1 tag. So we're going to do an opening H1 tag here, and we'll type About Us, and then do a closing H1 tag. So hopefully y'all are starting to get the hang of this a little bit more now. I'll hit enter, and then I'm going to hit backspace to bring it back in line with the opening article tag. And then we're going to go ahead and close that article tag. All right. Hit your enter key, and we're going to do an opening footer tag. All right, hit your enter key, tab in one time. Now for the footer, we're not going to use any special elements like we did H1 up for curbside tie, and we did H1 for About Us. We're not going to do anything like that for footer. It's a different type of element that we're using. So for this time, we're just going to type in what they have for us to type in. So that's curbside tie 411 BELDE drive, comma, Charlotte, NC 28201. And then just do a single space and do 704-555-1151. Okay. Hit your enter button, and we'll close that footer tag. And I'll give you just a minute to get that typed in. I know I went sort of fast on that. While you're typing that, though, one thing I will mention is that we are going to add a few additional elements here. So just be mindful of that. We are going to add in a future step, we're going to add a few special characters in to separate some of this. Normally, for an address, I would put some things in here not to run it all together. So we are going to do that in a future phase. So don't worry about that right now. All right, be sure you get that closing footer tag in there and go ahead and save your changes. And let's go back over here and let's open up that page and see what we did. So you should see the results of that. You've got curbside tie up at the top. You've got the about us and you've got the footer that we added. So you should see those results in your browser. Notice that we don't have that style sheet applied yet. So you'll take note of that right now of what it looks like, because once we apply that style sheet in just a few steps, actually, we will have a lot of coloring. The background will be added and everything. So take note of the difference between those. All right. All right, let's go back into our book here. And we want to start grouping some of our page text into paragraphs here. So what I want you to do is go back to your folder, and we want to open the file that's CT_pages. Let's see where that is here. There it is. CT_pages. It doesn't look like a Word, excuse me, a browser document or HTML document. It looks like just a regular text document. So it's a little bit misleading. I'm going to open that in Notepad++ as well. What that's going to provide for us is a lot of different text that we're going to insert throughout various pages that we work on today. So we won't use all of it in the first one. For example, we're going to copy right now the page that the text that's under about us right up here at the top, and we're going to paste it. So highlight the text under, highlight the text there under about us, and we're going to copy that. But they do that for you so you don't have to type all this stuff in, because we will put this in on each page of the website, and so it will save you a lot of steps from having to type that in. Let's go back. Once you copy that, let's go back to the about file. All right, and we're going to put this directly under the about us heading down here that we have under the between the article, opening and closing tags there for article, right under about us. So click after that closing H1 tag, we'll hit the enter button and go ahead and paste that in. All right, and it might look a little interesting there. You can clean it up if you want to. I'll go ahead and clean this up just a little bit so that it looks nice. Bear with me for a minute as I get that in play. You can arrange yours based off your screen size if you want to, and get it situated. And don't forget your contact us thing down here as well, where it says contact. All right, so it should look about like that. I'm going to be sure everything is nice and lined up. Now, the thing about this text that we got in here is web browsers don't necessarily see text like it would in a Word document. So we basically have to tell a web browser that this is a paragraph, right? It doesn't know it's a paragraph without us telling it that it's a paragraph. So what we want to do is we want to enclose each one of these paragraphs with paragraph tags. So basically it's a P, opening tag is a P, and the closing tag is a P as well. So let me just add a P. You'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. You see I added that. And then after truck, we're going to add a closing P tag. Okay. And all that's saying, it's a paragraph tag. All that's saying is it's denoting to the web browser that these are separate paragraphs and that they need to be treated as such when they are displayed. Okay, so just like that. All right, and we'll go ahead and save changes. If you want to, you don't have to necessarily on this one, but if you want to open your web browser and just see what it looks like right now, you can. And it should, you should have those 3 paragraphs in there, and each one of those should be aligned appropriately. All right, so you can be sure that everything copied over right when you did that. Okay. So now we want to do some various editing, if you will, to make these elements. So look a certain way. So when you're in a Word document and you want to bold something or you want to italicize something, all you do is you go up there to the top and you click on the bold button, you click on the italics button. It's pretty simple. But HTML doesn't exactly work that way. So some web editors may let you actually click on a bold button, but what's going to happen is it actually in the background is coding those elements that you put in. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some of these coding elements in as well on our own. So we've just got a few different ones to do here. Let's start out first with our strong element. And basically what strong is it's bold. Okay, so if we wanted to bold something, we would use the strong element. Now, what we want to do is right under About Us, we're still on our About page, right under About Us up here, we're going to bold curbside tie. So I'm going to do it come right between where you got your paragraph, your P tag, and you've got your curbside, that where we're going to add a tag in here, and we're just going to write strong. And all right, and then come right after, the only thing we're bolding is curbside tie. So come right after the word tie, and we're going to close that tag. Right now, the next one that we want to do is actually down here in the second paragraph. What we want to italicize this one. We want to italicize just the part that says curbside tie will deliver. So come just before curbside, and we're going to do an EM tag, which really stands for emphasized text. So it's sort of like emphasis, and it basically just means, it's a fancy word basically for italics. So that's what we're going to open with there. Curbside tie will deliver. And right after the period there, after, actually they don't want us to include the period. So right after the word deliver and before the period, we're going to come and close that emphasis tag. So it should be deliver, close of the emphasis tag, a period, and then close your paragraph tag on that. All right, and then down here on our third paragraph, we're going to do for this one, we're going to use the cite element, which basically marks a citation. All right, and then we'll follow that up with a quoted tag that will denote that you have quoted material there. All right, so let's see. All right, so right after what, down here, right before Carolina Traveler, we're going to do an opening tag, and this one is going to be cite. And right after the word traveler, we're going to close that tag. So opening site tag before Carolina, closing site tag after traveler. And then right before the word the, we're going to do an opening Q tag, which just means that it basically stands for quoted material and means that everything that we've got between those tags would be something that was quoted. So we're going to start before the with the opening Q tag, and we're actually going to take that through right after Charlotte. So do your closing Q tag right after Charlotte. Okay, so it should be Charlotte, closing Q tag, period, closing P tag. All right, and let's go ahead and save that and come back over to your web browser and refresh, and let's take a look at what happened. So curbside tie should be up bolded, and it is. Curbside tie will deliver should be italicized, and you'll see that it is. And then on this contact us paragraph that we've got, Carolina Traveler should be italicized, and that came from the site tag that we used, and then the quote tag that we used, you'll notice inserted quotation marks there for the finest Asian food on or off the streets of Charlotte. Okay, so everything looks like it did right on that one. All right, now actually before let me go back to the page real quick. Notice what it looks like now. Okay, but what we're getting ready to do is add in our link for the HTML document, the link to the style sheet. Okay, so you're going to notice a major change as soon as we do that. All right, so what we want to do on this one is this is going to be right after our title tag up here at the top where it says title about curbside tie. So right after that closing title tag, let's press the enter button. And I want you to add in this link. We're going to do an open element here, and we're going to do link href, which is the code for any kind of link. Basically, we'll talk a lot more about that coming up. But anytime you have a link to anything, pretty much we'll use that element there. We'll do equals and open quote CT underscore base dot CSS close quote. Now the CSS file for this one, we will get into talking about CSS down the road, but the CSS file for this one is already in your folder that you downloaded. So you don't have to worry about it. It's already there. And then we're going to do rel equals open quote style sheet, close quote. All right, and then we're going to do a space after that, and we're going to do a slash and close that element. Okay, so just like I have on my screen. And then we're going to do one more as well because we have two style sheets that we need to link. And we're going to do one more link, and we're going to do href equals. This one is going to be CT underscore layout 2 dot CSS close quote. And then rel equals style, whoops, sorry about that, style sheet, close quote, and then we're going to do the space, slash, and close that element. All right, so both of those should look actually pretty similar to each other. It's just we're linking two separate style sheets in there. Okay, go ahead and save that and open up your browser and let's refresh again. I mean, you should notice a pretty big change this time. You notice a fairly significant change on this one. A lot of changes to note, but I won't go over all of them, but just on the surface, you see that the coloring has changed. Carolina Traveler is in blue. That's something different. Also, we've applied a different font style to Curbside Tie and About Us. So everything before was in this Times New Roman type font, and we've applied a different font in here, and we've got a divider in here and a different font for our footer as well. So quite significant difference when we apply that style sheet. Okay. Okay. So let's return now to our About page where we are. All right, and I promised you that we would be adding something to those footer elements down here at the bottom. So what I want you to do is right after actually Curbside Tie, go ahead and add an additional space. And we're going to add an element in here for character encoding, referencing basically for a bulleted item. So it will be a bullet between Curbside Tie and the address. So type the and symbol, a pound symbol, 8226, and a semicolon. Be sure it's a semicolon and not a regular colon. All right, now we're going to do the exact, okay, you got one between Curbside Tie and 411 Bell Drive. Okay, right after the zip code, so between the zip code and the phone number, we're going to add the exact same one. So it's another bullet. So I'm going to do and pound 8226 semicolon. Okay. And then between Charlotte, North Carolina, or the NC, I should say, and the zip code right here, we're going to do another space, and I want you to do the and symbol and NBSP and a semicolon. Now that NBSP terminology that we use stands for a non-breaking space. So it's basically just a space pretty much. All right, so you should have one here between Curbside Tie and 401 Bell Drive, the at NBSP semicolon between NC and the zip code. And you should have between the zip code and the phone number, you should have another element there for the bullet. All right, we'll save that. And let's go back to our browser and look. And you should have an extra space. You'll see there between Charlotte, North Carolina. And you also have the bullets here as well. So that looks pretty good. So typically there's supposed to be an extra space between like Charlotte, North Carolina and the zip code. Technically, a lot of folks don't do that anymore, but still that's technically the correct way to do it. So that's why they had you put that in there. All right. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is add an image into your document. Now, those images are already saved in your folder that you did, okay? So we don't have to find an image. Now, you could find an image like if you were doing this on your own, but they already provide that for us, so they take some of that out of the way. So two things actually that we need to do here. We're adding two different images in two different places. So the first one is going to be within the header element. And then the second one is going to be after About Us here with the body. So first of all, we'll add the top one in. Come right after the heading 1 tag on Curbside Tie. Come right after that. And I want you to do an opening tag for image. So IMG SRC. So basically we're saying the image source and we're getting ready to provide that. So let's say equals after that, and then we'll do an opening quote. And this one is going to be CT underscore logo 2 dot PNG, close quote. Okay. And then I want you to do a space and do alt, so ALT equals. And we're not going to really provide any alternate text for, or excuse me, we are for this one. We won't for the second one. So let's do an opening quote on that one as well. And we are going to do, just call it curbside tie. Just like I have there. We'll close that quote and then we'll do a space slash and close the element. All right, so what we're saying is image source is equal to the CT underscore logo 2.png file. And then the alternate text on that's curbside tie. That's more of an accessibility thing. If you've ever hovered over an image on a website and you'll see some kind of text that appears on your screen telling you what that image is, that's what we're talking about. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second when we add the second picture in and jump over to the web browser. All right, I want you to come after about us now, and we're going to add in yet another one. So open your image tag. And this time the source is going to be, and we'll do source equals CT underscore photo 1.png. I'm going to close the quote on that. And this one does not have alt text. That's the one I was getting confused before. This one does not have any alt text. So we're just going to do alt equals, and we're going to do an opening quote, closing quote right together. So that's saying that we're not going to put anything in there. And then we'll do a space slash and close that tag. All right, so just like I have for both of those. So be sure you have both of those in there correct. Okay. And real quick, we'll go ahead and save that. Okay. Before I refresh my screen, let's go over to our browser. And you'll notice that it looks just a little bit different up here. Watch when we refresh what happens. That's pretty cool, huh? So we've added this picture in that says curbside tie, and we've added this picture over here on the right side. Okay. Now, one thing that I do want us to do is get rid of, you see how we've got still the heading 1 tag up there? Let's get rid of that. So let's come back over here in our code within the header element, get rid of that H1. Just get rid of it altogether, backspace over it, get rid of it, so that the whole header is just that image. All right, we'll save it. Let's switch back over to our browser now. And it took it away. Now, if you hover your mouse over curbside tie, it should, and it's not going to do it on mine because I have it turned off, but it should give you the alternate text over that. Like I said, I have mine turned off, so you're not going to see it, but it should normally do that for you. All right. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do is I want you to go back over to your folder this time that has your files in there. And I want you to open the CT underscore reviews. Let's see where that one's at. Right down here it is. Underscore text. Open that one up. and we'll open that with Notepad++. Okay. And let's go ahead and put your name and the date in here in our comment area. We'll add your name in and the date. So your date should not be mine because you will be doing it on a different day for sure. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to save this file as a different file type. So let's go ahead and do File, Save As. And basically we're keeping the CT reviews part. We're just getting rid of the TXT part on the end. So just get rid of the _TXT. So it'll be CT_reviews.html. And we'll save. Okay. All right, now we're going back and it probably should already be open in your Notepad++ window with a CT_pages file that we had that had all that text in there. All right, scroll down and you want to find the section on reviews down here. And let's copy the 2 reviews and also the 2 rewards down here at the bottom. We're going to copy that and we'll come back over here to the CT reviews HTML file that we created. All right, and we're going to paste that under the article tag. We're going to paste that right after the heading for reviews right here. All right, so let me just paste that in. And what I want to do just for the moment is I want to clean what I call cleaning the text up just a little bit. I want to make it look a little bit better. It's not a requirement the way HTML works. It won't really affect your text anyway if you didn't clean it up, but I just like to have mine looking a little bit nicer so it's easier to read and understand. But actually, I'm going to leave Carolina Traveler on a separate line. I'll show you the importance of that in a minute. All right. So if you're cleaning yours up too, be sure that you leave Carolina Traveler on that separate line. All right. All right, and I've got food cart review on a separate line down there as well. And then I'm going to leave best in show and food cart cook-off separated, as well as first prize vendor and Vindy awards separated as well. And I am going to move those over just a bit though. All right. So once you get that done, we want to start using the block quote element. And what that's going to do is it's going to add basically almost like a text box around each one of these reviews so that it looks visually appealing on the web page. And you'll see what it does as soon as we get these added. So I want you to put each one of these in block quote, and then we're going to use paragraph tags between the different elements in this tag. So I know that sounds confusing, so let me show you. So I want you to come right after reviews and before the, and let's create a new line. And let's type in, just do an opening tag here for block quote. Okay, just like that. Then each element in here, we're going to put in paragraph tags. So right before the, let's do an opening paragraph tag. Right after Charlotte, we're going to do a closing paragraph tag. And then we're going to put Carolina Traveler in its own tags for opening and closing paragraph tags. So it'll be its own element within that block quote. All right, and then the line under Carolina Traveler, we're going to close the block quote. Okay. So just follow along with me now, and you'll see the importance of all this in just a minute once we go over to the browser side. All right, so we're going to do basically the same one for each one of these. So we're going to put a block quote in here before streaming, and then we're going to do paragraph tags around the main paragraph and also food cart review. And we will close the block quote. And then we're actually going to do the exact same thing around these, even though they don't look as much of a paragraph as the others did. We're going to still do the same thing. So block quote around each one, and then paragraph tags around each one of these. Okay. Close the block quote. And one more time around the one here at the bottom. Okay. And last time we'll close that block quote. All right, so get that information entered in. Now, I should say before we view it, go ahead and save it once you get done. Before we view it, let me add that some of these elements are defined in our style sheet. So once we see what it turns out to in the web browser, once we have this information in, don't be confused that it just happens automatically. We had to set up on our style sheets exactly how these elements would appear. All right. So let's go back over. Actually, let's go to our folder and let's find let's see where it's at. Oh, there it is. Our CT reviews file that we created. All right. And let's open that in our web browser, and you should have something sort of like what I've got on my screen. So what I was saying about the block quotes, you see it put each one in sort of like this text box element. It's got the huge quote up here at the top. A lot of that stuff is defined within our style sheets. HTML doesn't just make it look this way with the right coloring and all that stuff. We had to actually tell it to look that way. But that's a conversation for another tutorial. All right, so just do a quick spot check. Be sure that everything looks good. You should have 4 of those. All right. Okay. Now, so the next thing we want to do is we're actually going to create the next several things. Actually, we're going to do is create some new pages. So I want you to go over to your folder next. And I want you to open let's find it here, the CT catering text file. Right click and open that in Notepad++. Okay. And we are going to, once again, update the author. So put your name in there, and we're going to update the date and put the date that you're doing this. It will be different from mine. And we're going to go up here, File, Save As. All right, and this one is going to be CT_catering, and this one is going to be .html. Get rid of that underscore text part on that end of it. So just CT_catering.html. We will save it. All right, and we want to go back to our pages file up here and copy some more text. So we're copying the text under the catering heading. Okay, we're going back to our catering page, and we're going to copy this in within the article element right under the heading, right under the heading there. We'll paste that information, and it's just some paragraphs of text. I'm going to work on making mine look a little nice here. So you can try to make yours look as nice as it can. A lot of what we're doing when I say making things look nice is not critical, once again, for HTML to work, but it is helpful when you are trying to figure out what you're doing, to have your code look nice. If something's wrong with it, it's a lot easier to find the mistake. Okay. So just keep that in mind when we're going through and making things look nice. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and add in the P element for each one of these so that it is denoted within the text as a paragraph. So let's do that for each one of these paragraphs. Okay, just like that. All right, and then once you do that, right before, or right, excuse me, right after, I should say, the heading up there for catering, I want you to add in an image. So we'll add our image element. So image, our source is going to be equal to the title for this one is going to be CT underscore photo 2.png. And we're going to have an empty string in there for the alternate text as well. So our alternate text alt equals, we'll do open and close quotes right there together. Okay. And then a slash, a space slash, and close that element. Okay, just like that. And we're going to save it. Once you get finished. All right, and then let's go back over to our, let's actually go back to our, this is a new page, so let's actually go back over to our folder and open the catering page. Let's find it, right here it is. Let's open our CT catering page up in our browser. And it should look about like what I've got up on my screen here. You should see we've got our paragraphs created. We've got this picture that we've got in there. All right. All right. And then the final page that we're going to create on this session of the tutorial is the contact us page. So let's go back over to our folder and open the contact page up. So right click on the CT contact text page and let's edit with Notepad++. And I think y'all probably know the drill by now. We're replacing your name and date in there. So let's go ahead and for the author, type your name in and we'll put the date. So January, well, for me, it's January 19th. But for you, it will be whatever date you're completing the project. All right. And we're going to do file, save as, And we're same thing we did on the others. We're getting rid of the underscore text and we're doing .html. So CT underscore contact.html. We will click save. Okay. All right, note that this one's already linked to the style sheets as well. So we've already got some of that created. This one also has an image source already entered as well. So let's go back over to this pages file that we have been working from that's got our contact information on it. And I want to copy out the information they have in here for contact us. So we'll copy that and come back over to our contact page and paste it down here under article, or under the heading for article, I should say. All right, and then take a few seconds to clean up this text so that it looks nice. All right. Now, curbside tie, the address and everything, call, email, all that can be on separate lines. So leave that on separate lines as they have it. All right, now the first paragraph up here, we're going to put that in opening and closing P tags to denote that it's a paragraph. Okay, so go ahead and do that for the first line. Now, for the others, we're going to do just, or for the next one, we're going to do just a little bit different. I'll show you about that. Now, for this address down here, we're actually going to note it in HTML that it is an address. So what I think I want you to do, click just before the C in curbside, and let's press enter so we have another line created, and go just above the line where curbside tie is, and we're going to do the address tag. And all that's telling HTML is that this is an address. Okay. Now, after each one of these, we're going to use the break tag. Okay. We haven't used this one yet. It's very commonly used and it will be very helpful to you. And so what I want, a lot of times, like for when you use paragraph, it separates the lines anyway, but in this situation, everything would sort of be running in together. So we've got to do something to actually separate these without creating an extra huge line. So we're just going to do the break. Now this one element is one that does not have a closing tag with it. Okay. So right after tie, we're going to do an opening or a tag, I should say, and just type in BR, okay, space, and do a slash and close the tag. So just like we've got right there. And you're going to do that for both lines. Now we won't do anything after the zip code in Charlotte. Okay, just the break before, or excuse me, after tie and then after drive is all we're doing. Now, after the zip code there for Charlotte, we are going to hit the enter button and close this address tag. Okay, just like that. All right. Now for our phone number and our email address, we're just going to use regular paragraph tags. So opening and closing P tags on these will be just fine. Okay, just like that. And of course, go ahead and save it once you get done. All right, and let's go back over to our web browser. And whoops, sorry, messed that up again. Let's go back to our folder since we haven't opened it yet. All right, and let's find the contact page. There it is. And we'll open that in our web browser. And it should look just like we've got it here. You'll notice that we've got our paragraph up here. We've got the space in between. Notice that because of our break tags that we have over here to the side, that these are all together on line after line. All right. And then we've got our paragraph tags in here, so they're separated. Okay. Now that's all the work that we've got for this session of the tutorial. Session 1.3 will be next, and we'll continue the work that we started here.